This week, Australia's media class wined and dined at the National Press Club while Indigenous Affairs Minister Linda Burney outlined her plan for The Voice.
I will ask The Voice to consider 4 main priority areas: health, education, jobs and housing. The Voice will be tasked with taking the long view.
For most journalists, it seemed that it was a magnificent speech. Burney got a standing ovation and skated through the Q&A part of the event with very few tough questions. But for everyone else, the ordinary punters who were desperately hoping for more detail about the controversial proposal, the speech simply raised more questions and more confusion. We also noticed several inaccuracies within Burney's speech, such as her insistence that The Voice could only be independent if it was enshrined in the Constitution.
Why does The Voice need to be in the Constitution? Why can't it just be legislated? A voice or representative body cannot be truly independent or give frank advice to the government of the day if the government of the day can abolish it with the stroke of a pen. Secondly, it's what First Peoples requested in the Uluru Statement from the Heart.
Now that is just objectively false. If it were true, it would mean that no statutory body is actually independent. It would mean that the ABC is not independent from the government, and this new national corruption inquiry secretly does Anthony Albanese's bidding. It is a ridiculous and conspiratorial claim without any evidence, but most of the media ignored that blunder. Instead, Burney, rather ironically and extremely disappointingly, ramped up her divisive attacks on no voters.
The No campaign is being run by a group called Fair Australia. It is importing Trump-style politics to Australia, and its aim is to polarise. Its aim is to sow division in our society by making false claims. Do not let the No campaign get away with using Trump-style politics in Australia. Do not let them divide us.
When a politician talks like that and disparages Australians for not agreeing with them, it tells me one thing: they are panicking. The argument essentially is, if you don't agree with me, you are an extremist and spreading misinformation. Now, Burney had an opportunity to bring Australians together, and instead, with this inflammatory rhetoric, she divided us once again into tribal political camps. Australians are extremely good at noticing dishonest arguments such as these, and they are destroying the Yes campaign every time Labor makes them. Here's Sky's Olivia Casely analysing the comments and describing them as the moment Burney went off the script.
Yeah, she did. She did go off script at one point there to really basically call out the No campaign for what she said was importing Trump-style politics and tactics and seeking to divide Australians. She also called out the media as well for not marking down politicians such as One Nation Senator Pauline Hanson for comments she said had been racist.
But not all journalists were fooled. Here is the Australian's Rosie Lewis finding a critical flaw in Burney's speech. If the reason that we need to enshrine The Voice into the Constitution is to ensure its independence from government, then how can Burney reconcile the fact that she will be giving The Voice marching orders?
Minister, I wanted to try and clarify on your 4 priority areas. Will The Voice be completely free to determine its own scope as per the constitutional amendment, or will you as Minister expect it to advise on your 4 priority areas first and foremost? And will those areas be outlined in legislation establishing The Voice?
So did Burney answer those very clear questions? She waffled on about consultation, but refused to say whether the body was independent of the Labor government and whether it was free to select its own focus. Have a listen.
Josie Douglas, who is a wonderful Australian from the Central Land Council, put it best: The Voice will be changing lives, not changing public holidays.
Great, but glossing over the fact that Burney cannot possibly know whether The Voice will make representations on changing the date of Australia Day or not, she still hasn't answered the question. So why do these Labor politicians think they can walk into the National Press Club, give a misleading speech with critical holes, and then walk away without answering tough questions? Well, this photo sums it up. Twitter trolls attempted to shame the journalist who dared ask that question for not giving Burney a standing ovation. Dean Rosario wrote, Linda Burney got a standing ovation after her address to the National Press Club. Just a few refused to stand. Lady on the bottom left of the screen saw others stand up and did not even clap. Australian journalist Tom Ravlic sensibly shot back. It's the press club, not the fan club. There is a difference. It might be wise if we all remembered that.